Hello, beautiful souls. It is 5:50 in the morning. So what else is there to do except talk about Neo-Advaita and the difference between authentic non-duality and modern, watered down nonsense non-duality. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. A warm welcome to anyone who's new to this channel, and of course, a warm welcome to my return viewers. So I just had my mind blown and I wanted to share that. And it's very connected to understanding the problem of and recovering from Neo-Advaita. So I'm currently studying early Buddhism called Theravada Buddhism. And I was shocked to read that the Buddha gave advice on how to save money, on what brings relative happiness for people who aren't monks and nuns, and even guidance for how to live a good life, how to earn money, and the need to learn how to skillfully, ethically earn and spend money for people who are not monks and nuns. So this was completely shocking to me. I had no idea that the Buddha taught on such topics. And it really highlighted for me what I consider to be one of the major, if not the most significant problem of Neo-Advaita, besides the fact that it's just nonsense and dissociative and an escape, but that it provides no compass for how to live. So Neo-Advaita teaches and for anyone who's new, Neo-Advaita is a kind of technical term for watered down, modernized non-duality. So Neo-Advaita teaches non-duality wrong. That's just, at this point, that's pretty much a fact. Well, fact is maybe a strong way to say it, but according to actual Advaita teachers, such as Ramana Maharshi, such as Adi Shankara, they're teaching it wrong. So that's a whole nother topic. I've talked about that a lot. And what Neo-Advaita teaches, even though it's wrong, kind of the flavor of what they teach is really only appropriate for monks and nuns, because Neo-Advaita teaches, they teach it wrongly, but they teach complete detachment from the world, complete, the way that self-inquiry is taught, and or the way that the philosophy is taught, it's really only for monks and nuns. And once again, I want to highlight that they're teaching it wrong, but they're teaching a path of complete negation of the world and complete negation of of being active in the world. And that's why people who take it really seriously become dysfunctional, because it's a complete turning away from the world. So traditional Advaita Vedanta teaches a more progressive, and by progressive, what I mean is a step-by-step process of learning how to be non-enmeshed in the world while you're still in the world. Whereas Neo-Advaita just teaches this complete turn away. It's actually quite violent on a sort of emotional, existential level. Whereas Advaita Vedanta teaches a cultivation of learning how to not be enmeshed in the world while still functioning in the world. The primary way it does this is through teaching of Dharma, this notion of skillfully, ethically performing your duty for the well-being of everyone. And of interest is that that is what the Buddha taught for lay people. He taught them how to be successful at life while simultaneously cultivating spiritual principles that would lead to uh, a loosening of attachment to material things. So, a true and authentic and valid liberating path is going to be skillful. It's going to be a process. It's going to have wisdom that can engage people who are lay people, are going to can engage and speak to people who are monastics or renunciates, and then can skillfully guide people, skillfully, gently towards a path of. And see, I'm hesitating because the English words don't carry the connotation so well, but one of them is of loosening vairagya. It's a Sanskrit term that means binding desires. It gets translated as detachment, and that's not particularly accurate. So again, an actual path that will lead to liberation can work with people who are monastics and renunciates, and it can work with people who are not, who are like everyday, quote, ordinary people. Teach them how to do life well, and how to do life well in a way that you decrease vairagya, binding desires, um, enmeshed desires. So we've got this spectrum here. We've got renunciates. We've got people who are not renunciates, and we have this wisdom to move people towards a path of loosening vairagya. So that's what an authentic spiritual teaching will do, and Neo-Advaita does none of the above. It has the practice it offers. The practice it offers is only applicable for someone who's a monk or a nun, but yet it's still delusional. So it cannot teach monks or nuns. It has no wisdom to offer lay people, people who are working a when I say lay people, people who are working a 9 to 5 and or have a family and or have possessions, which is like 99.99% of the population. Neo-Advaita has nothing to offer lay people. And in fact, what it will offer lay people is harmful. And it has no wisdom to move. But on top of it, this is the thing that has my mind blown. The Buddha taught people how to be successful at life, as does traditional Advaita Vedanta. And when I say it teaches lay people, the Buddha taught lay people how to skillfully earn money, save money, and spend money. He gave direct instructions for that. Traditional Advaita Vedanta gives direct and clear instructions for good family relations, for how to be successful in material living. Neo-Advaita offers none of that. And in fact, the teaching that Neo-Advaita offers will lead to the opposite of that, to being unsuccessful in all material endeavors. Much less, it has nothing to offer people in the process of cultivating loosening vairagya, or cultivating, it's called sanatavam, contentment. Uh, my mind is just completely blown in terms of how much of a failure Neo-Advaita is. Because on the spiritual spectrum, if you think about it, if you think about the path of liberation, and you think about this spectrum I'm talking about, people who are monks and nuns, renunciates, people who are living in the world, and people who are kind of somewhere in between. Neo-Advaita fails all three, wherein a traditional path will address and give wisdom and guidance for all three. So the book that I'm reading, The Teachings of the Buddha, is called What the Buddha Taught by, can't pronounce his name, but it's a very famous book, What the Buddha Taught. And I've talked many times about Swami Brahma Prajananda. I've got a link to her on my website. She's a former psychologist before she became a sannyasi, a renunciate. And I've looked at it. So I just have profound respect for how she teaches emotional integration and how she teaches how to succeed at life in a way that prepares you, when I say at life, in material life, money, relationships, having possessions, how to succeed at those things, to do well in those things in a way that prepares you for the path of, again, I don't want to say renunciation, because the more I study, the more English falls short. It just doesn't cut it. And that's a lot of what Neo-Advaita is lost in translation, bad spirituality. So I'm going to write her name in the chat box as well. Brahma Rajananda. I've got a link to her website on my website as well. So thank you so much for joining me bright and early in the morning to and she talks about the difference between traditional Advaita and Neo-Advaita. So thank you for joining me bright and early. Like I said here, now it's 6 a.m. in the morning. What else am I going to do except talk about the differences between actual Advaita Vedanta, which is really integrated and integral, meaning it addresses all aspects of living, versus Neo-Advaita, which is just an escapist drug. Thank you so very much for joining in. I wish everyone a blessed day. Take care.